I heard the door open. Room 214, right next to mine. The wall between us so thin I could hear the soft thud of a bag being dropped, the click of a lamp being switched on, the particular sound of someone settling into a space they had not chosen and were making do with. I was not paying attention to any of that because I was already paying too much attention to the fact that I had just seen, in the narrow
Hi, checking in.
fluorescent
Here's my
corridor
ID
of a
and
budget
card.
hotel in a
Welcome.
city
Here is your
neither
key
of us
card.
lived in.
Thank you.
The face of the boy who had occupied more of my interior life than any real person had any right to. He had not seen me. I had turned fast, graceless, heart-slamming, and walked straight back to my room and closed the door and stood against it breathing like I had been running. Noah Calloway after 5 years. He was right next door. And I was absolutely, completely, thoroughly not ready. Let me tell you about high school and a boy and the particular kind of feeling that takes up residence in your chest at 17 and refuses to vacate even when you are 25 and living an entirely different life in an entirely different city. His name was Noah Calloway. He sat 2 rows ahead of me in junior English class, which meant that for an entire academic year, I spent approximately 50 minutes every Tuesday and Thursday looking at the back of his head and trying to remember the plot of whatever we were supposed to be discussing. He had dark hair that was always slightly too long, not fashionably, not deliberately, just the hair of someone who forgot to get it cut until it was already past the point of needing it. He had a laugh that arrived before the rest of him in any room, warm and unguarded and completely infectious. He was the kind of person
So,
who
I was
made
thinking
friends
about our
without
next steps.
trying, not
Yes,
through charm
I'm all
or
ears.
We should
performance,
definitely
but through a
expand the
genuine,
outreach.
uncalculated interest in whoever happened to be standing in front of him. He was also, in the specific way that certain people are, the first person who had ever made me understand what it meant to want someone, not in a theoretical way. In a very specific, very personal, very inconvenient way that I spent most of junior year trying to convince myself was just admiration or friendship or some manageable variation of normal feeling. It was not admiration.
Glad
It was
I could
not
join you.
friendship.
Me
It was
too.
the real
This is
thing,
nice.
the early,
It's good to
clumsy,
catch up.
terrifying version
Definitely.
of it, and I carried it around
It's
for
crazy
2
how
years
we
of
just
high
clicked
school without
right from
ever
the
saying
start.
a single
I
word
know, it
about
feels like we've
because I
known
was
each other for
17
years.
and not yet out to anyone,
Great dinner.
including myself.
Time for a drink?
And the idea
Definitely.
of saying
I
anything
could use
out
one.
loud was
This
as
way to the bar.
impossible as the idea of flying.
So, what did you
We
think
were
of the
friendly,
keynote?
not close
It was
friends,
insightful.
but the
The
specific
panel on
high
AI was
school
my
kind
favorite.
of friendly that involves
So then she
easy
just
conversation
walked right
in
out.
shared classes,
No way, what
brief,
did you do?
comfortable
Another
interactions
round,
in
fellas?
hallways,
Yeah,
the
please.
occasional lunch table overlap. He knew my name, I knew his laugh. We existed in each other's orbits without
hope
ever
the
fully
elevator's quick
colliding,
tonight.
and when we graduated
Yeah,
and
me
went
too.
in different
I'm beat.
directions, him
Stay
to
here.
university
Long
3
day.
states away, me to a different city, a different life, a gradual and eventually complete coming out and the slow process of becoming who I actually was, I had
Room
told myself that
213
Noah Calloway
and
was simply a
214.
chapter.
Seriously?
A formative
What are
one,
the
but
odds,
closed.
right?
I had been
These
telling
door
myself
numbers are
that
so
for 5
cool.
years. I was telling myself that when I checked into room 213 of the Harrington Hotel in Portland, Oregon, on a Thursday afternoon in October, for a 3-day work conference that I had been mildly dreading. I stopped telling myself that approximately 40 seconds later when I walked back out to get ice and found him standing in the corridor outside room 214. Here is the thing about seeing someone from your past unexpectedly.
As you can
Your
see on the
body
screen, our
recognizes them
projections
before
show
your brain
steady
fully
growth. Our
processes
goal
what
is
it
to
is
accommodate this while
Something in the
reducing emissions
architecture
by
of my chest
30%.
did something specific before I had consciously registered who it was. A response, a knowing, and then my brain caught up and said Noah, and my body said yes, obviously I told you. And then I turned and walked back to my room without the ice and stood against the door with my heart doing something it had not done in a long time.
So, in light of the
I had
recent
seen
data,
him for
how do we
maybe 4
mitigate these
seconds,
emerging risks?
half a corridor apart in the flat fluorescent light of
Hey,
a
long
budget
time no
hotel
see.
hallway.
Wow,
He had
good to
been
see
looking
you.
down
How have
at
you
his
been?
key card
Great,
and
thanks.
had
These
not
pastries
looked
look
up in
good.
time.
This morning's keynote was
4
fantastic.
seconds
The
was enough
speaker's
to
vision for
confirm
AI is
several
spot on.
things.
Absolutely.
It
I've been
was still, I
following
was
their
going to
work
be
for
honest
months.
with
We should
myself here,
connect. So, the
extraordinarily good
keynote
to
was
look at.
insightful.
The dark hair
Definitely.
was
The
still
panel on
slightly
AI
too
was
long
great.
and exactly
Yeah,
the same
I actually
way.
work in
He
that
was
space.
taller than I
Oh, really?
remembered or I had remembered
So,
wrong.
what do you think
He
of
was
this
wearing a gray
approach?
jacket over a dark
It's
shirt, and
solid.
he had a
This
conference
diagram here
lanyard
really
around his
helps.
neck, which
Agreed.
meant he
Let's
was here
apply
for
it.
the same event I was here for, which meant 3 days. 3 days and a wall between us thin enough to hear through. I sat on the edge of my hotel bed and had a very direct internal conversation with myself. You
Nice
are
day for a walk,
25
right?
years old.
Yeah,
You are a
perfect. The river's
functioning
calming.
adult who has
Totally.
successfully
Portland in
managed
October.
your emotions through
I'll get
several
it.
significant challenges in your life.
Here you
You
go.
had a crush on this
Thanks,
person
man.
when you were 17. It has been
So,
5
enough
years.
about work. How are you
are
really
going to go
doing?
to this
I'm
conference
good,
and
man.
do your
Just need to
job
get
and
out of
be
the
a
office.
normal
I
human
get that.
being. I
The
believed
river's flow is
approximately
constant,
40%
yet ever
of this.
changing.
The
Like our
conference
thoughts,
was
always
for
moving
urban
forward.
environmental planning.
It's not
My
an easy
field,
choice.
his field apparently, which
But
I
what
had
if it's
not
wrong?
known because we had
Then
not
we
been in
face it
contact
together.
since high school.
I feel like
which
we don't
itself
talk
was
like this
something
enough.
I had been
I
careful
know,
about.
it's easier
in
to
a
just
way
keep
that
things
you are
light.
careful about
But this
things
feels more
that
honest.
would be difficult to manage.
I've been
at
holding
close
this in for
range.
so long.
The opening dinner was
saying
in
it
the
now feels
hotel's
right.
conference room, a large space
So,
with
we're
round
still on for
tables
tomorrow?
and name cards and
Yeah,
the particular
definitely. Wouldn't
social
miss it.
anxiety of a professional event where everyone is trying to seem both approachable and impressive simultaneously. I arrived, found my table, sat
Good
down,
evening,
and was
gentlemen.
looking at
Welcome
the
in.
menu when I heard
Evening.
a laugh from
It's
across
freezing
the
out.
room.
Yeah, it feels great
I
in here.
knew it immediately. Before I looked up, I knew it. Noah was at a table diagonally across from mine, already in animated conversation with whoever he had been
This
seated
feels
beside.
different.
His whole face lit up
More
with the same
deliberate
unguarded warmth I remembered from
last
high
night.
school hallways. He was
have to
gesturing
be
as he
honest
talked,
with you.
always a gesture. I remembered
not
this.
sure this is
and
the
the
right
person
thing.
across from him was leaning in like they were already his friend, because people did that because he had always had that quality. I looked at my menu. The menu was very interesting.
I know this is hard,
I
but
read every item on it
it's
with
just
great
between us, okay?
concentration. Then the woman beside me
Hey,
introduced
come on in.
herself, and I
Thanks,
introduced
man.
myself.
Appreciate
and
it.
we began
Yeah, no worries.
talking
We're not
about
managing
projects.
anything tonight.
And I managed, more or less, to be a normal professional human being for the duration of the starter and most of the main course.
This is
And then
nice.
someone tapped my shoulder.
Yeah, beats the lobby.
I turned
for
around.
sure. So, plans for
Noah
tomorrow?
was standing
Sleep in?
behind my
So I'm on
chair.
this hike,
He
and
was
the
looking
view
at
is
me
just
with his head
breathtaking, you know?
tilted
And this
slightly
deer
to
just
one
walks right
side
past
with
me,
the
like I'm not
particular
even there.
expression of someone
I
who
know it's been
thinks
tough,
they
but you've
recognize
handled it
someone
so
but is
well.
not quite certain
should be
enough
really
to
proud of
commit to the
yourself.
recognition. Ethan
Man,
Cole,
it feels
he
like
said.
we've been talking for hours.
My name in his voice.
Yeah, but in a
5
good way.
years.
No need to be polite
No, I
anymore.
said. His face
I'm right
opened
here
into a
with you.
full,
We'll
unguarded
get through this
smile.
together.
I thought that was you,
promise.
he said. I saw you across the room and I thought, but I wasn't sure. It's been 5 years, I said. 5 years, he confirmed. He looked genuinely, simply delighted, not performing it, just pleased in the easy way of someone who likes people and is glad to see one he recognizes. Can I? He gestured at the empty chair beside me. My table is done. They're all heading to the bar. Can I sit? Of course, I said.
I found the letters.
He settled
The
in
truth
with the
is, he
same
always loved
natural
you.
ease with which he had always occupied space. He put his elbows on the table, his chin on his hand, and he looked at me. You look exactly the same, he said. You're taller, I said. Am I? I don't think I'm taller. You're definitely taller. He grinned. Okay, I might be taller. He tilted his head. What are you doing here? What do you do? And like that, we were talking. Not carefully, not managed, just talking the way we had talked in high school hallways, easy and without gap, like the 5 years were a thing that had happened to other people. He told me about his work. He was at a firm in Seattle, Urban
Hey, good morning.
Sustainability
Thought you could use
Projects,
this.
had been doing it for
Oh,
2
wow.
years and loved
Thanks,
it
man.
most of the
You're a
time.
lifesaver.
I
No
told
problem
him
at all.
about my work in Chicago, similar field, different scale. We talked about our projects with the specific animated enthusiasm of 2 people who had ended up in the same corner of the professional world for reasons that were probably not coincidental. Given that we had been the 2 people in senior AP environmental science who actually
This
cared
place is
what was
popping.
on
Let's
the
grab
syllabus.
some. Definitely. Been
He was
craving
the
al
same,
jefes.
that was
One
the
carne
thing,
asada for me?
warmer
You got
and
it.
more
And for you?
settled.
Same.
More
Man, this
fully
market is
himself
amazing.
in the
So
way
much
of
good
people
food.
who have had the
I know,
time
right?
to
And
grow
this wrap
into
is
who they
incredible.
were always
Told you.
going to be. But essentially the same, the laugh, the gestures, the quality of attention he gave to whoever he was talking to, as if they were the most interesting thing in the room. The thing he gave me now, that specific, particular quality of attention. I managed myself carefully. When dinner broke up and people headed to the hotel bar, he said, "Come for a drink." "I have an early session," I said. "1 drink," he said. "You have to be able to manage 1 drink, Ethan. It's been 5 years." I went for a
So
drink.
this is
then
Saturday night?
2. We stayed
Yep,
at the bar
beats that
until the
tiny table,
staff started
for sure.
stacking chairs
Fries?
around us, and neither of us noticed until a very patient bartender said, apologetically, that they were closing. We walked up to the 2nd floor together.
Are you
We stopped in the corridor
sure about
outside our
this?
rooms. "Room 213, he said, reading my door
Yes,
number.
I do.
"Room 214, I said, reading his. He laughed. "We're next door neighbors," he said. "Apparently," I said. He looked at me for a moment, that direct, warm, uncomplicated look. "This is going to be a good conference," he said. "Yes," I said. He went into his room. I went into mine. I stood in the middle of my hotel
This coffee
room
is
and did a
amazing.
very thorough inventory
Yeah, and these eggs
of
are
everything
perfect.
I was
Best
feeling,
breakfast spot
and
in
then
Portland.
I did not sleep for a very long time. I woke the next morning to the sound of his alarm through the wall. It went off at
Hey,
6:45.
check this out. I
I
booked
know
our
the
flights.
exact time because
Oh,
I was
yeah?
already
JFK
awake.
to
I'd been
London,
awake
October
since
15th.
5:30,
It's
lying
confirmed.
in the particular restless state of someone whose mind has been running all night and has arrived by morning at a kind of exhausted clarity. I heard the alarm. I
I've been
heard it be
thinking
switched
about that
off. I
idea.
heard him move around
Yeah?
the room,
I
the
think it's
shower, the
brilliant,
sound of the
right? This
television
could actually
briefly on,
work.
the thud of what was probably a bag. I was aware of him in
Hey,
a way
that's
that felt
mine.
architectural.
I know.
Like his presence next door was a fact about the building, as real and concrete as the walls and the plumbing. I got up,
Checking
I
out for room
showered,
312.
I looked at myself
Certainly,
in the
here is your
bathroom mirror
receipt.
and had a
Ready to
quiet
go?
and direct
Yeah, let's head out.
conversation with the reflection.
Well, this is it.
You are
Take
going to
care,
go
man.
to this
Yeah, you
conference
too.
and do your
Safe
job.
travels.
You
We'll
are going
catch
to
up
be
soon,
friendly
for sure.
and normal and professional. You are not going to revisit 17. You are a different person now, more complete, more honest, more
good to
fully
see you, man.
yourself. You are not going
You
to let a
too.
hotel
It's been a
corridor
while.
and a shared wall
Yeah,
undo that.
too long.
The reflection looked back at me with an expression that suggested it had reservations about this plan but was willing to give it a shot. The morning sessions were good, genuinely interesting talks about urban greening initiatives that I would normally have found completely absorbing. I found them mostly absorbing, with occasional interruptions from the part of my brain that was tracking Noah's location in the conference room with a precision that my work GPS tools would have envied. He was 4 rows ahead. He took notes by hand in a small notebook, which I had not expected. He asked a question during the second session that was specific and smart and made
Hi,
the presenter
checking in.
pause
Here's my
and think
ID and
before
card.
answering.
Welcome.
I
Here is your
watched him
key
do
card.
it and felt
Thank you.
something entirely unreasonable move through my chest. At the coffee break, he found me immediately, or not immediately, but within 2 minutes, which felt immediate. He came up behind me in the coffee queue and said, "Good morning, neighbor." And I turned, and his hair was slightly damp from the shower, and he was carrying his notebook, and he looked the way people look in the morning when they have slept well and are genuinely looking forward to the day. "Morning," I said. "Good session." "That question about the green corridor funding, I've been fighting that exact battle in my current project for 6 months," he said. He was already animated the way he got when something interested him. "Did you hear her answer?" "We talked about the session. We talked about our own projects. We got our coffees and we went and stood by the window in the conference area, and the conversation moved easily from the professional into the personal, where we had both been, what the last 5 years had looked like at ground level, not the resume version, the real version." He had been through something hard at 22, a relationship ending in a way that had required real time to recover from. He talked about it with the ease of someone who had done enough work on it that it no longer held power, but with the honesty of someone who did not feel the need to minimize it either.
So, I was
He'd
thinking
taken
about our
6
next
months
steps.
working on a
Yes,
conservation
I'm all
project in the
ears.
We
Pacific
should definitely
Northwest.
expand the
He had come
outreach.
back to himself slowly, out there in the trees. "That sounds like something I do," I said. "I remembered you were always the one in environmental science who wanted to do the field work," he said. "I thought about you once, actually, when I was out there. I thought Ethan Cole would have loved this." I looked at my coffee cup. "You thought about me," I said. "Yeah," he said simply. "You were memorable, Cole, in a good way." I
Glad I could
managed
join
to
you.
respond to
Me
this
too.
normally.
This is nice.
I considered it
It's good
a
to catch up.
significant
Definitely.
personal achievement.
It's crazy how we
Afternoon
just
session
clicked
broke at
right from the
4,
start.
and Noah appeared
I
at
know,
my
it feels
elbow
like
and
we've
said,
known each other for
"Walk."
years.
Portland
Great
was
dinner.
gray and
Time for a
beautiful
drink?
in October, the
Definitely.
kind of
I
city
could
that
use
wears
one.
autumn
This
well.
way to the bar.
We walked along the waterfront, both of us
So,
having
what
made
did you think of the
unspoken
keynote?
decision to be done
It was
with conference
insightful.
rooms
The
for a
panel
few
on AI
hours.
was my favorite.
He bought coffee from a
So
cart
then she
and
just
handed me one
walked
without
right out.
asking how I took
No
it.
way,
He
what did you
remembered from
do?
this morning,
Another
I
round,
realized.
fellas?
He had
Yeah,
been paying
please.
attention. We walked and talked. The conversation had been loosening all day, each exchange a little more personal, a little more real,
I
a
hope
little
the
closer to
elevator's
the
quick
actual
tonight.
truth of who we were.
Yeah,
He
me
asked
too.
about my
I'm
life in
beat.
Chicago, the real
Same
version,
here.
and I
Long
gave it to
day.
him. I mentioned, without particular emphasis, a relationship that had ended last year, a man named Daniel who had been good and kind, and simply not right in the way
Room
that sometimes
213
good, kind people
and
are not right.
214. Seriously?
I did not
What are the
emphasize the
odds, right?
pronoun. I did not stage it.
These
I just
door
said
numbers
it.
are so cool.
Noah did not skip a beat. "How long were you together?" he said. 8 months, I said. "Hard to end even when it's right," he said. "Yeah," I said. We kept walking, but something in the air between us had shifted slightly, almost imperceptibly, but I had been paying extremely close attention and I felt it. He glanced at me sideways briefly with an expression I could not fully read in the half-second before he turned back to the river. "Can I ask you something?"
As you can see
he
on the
said.
screen, our projections
"Sure,"
show
I
steady
said.
growth. Our goal is
"For
to
you, in
accommodate this
high
while
school,
reducing
was there
emissions by
anything you
30%.
would have said differently, if you could?" He paused. He was choosing words carefully. "To anyone, I mean, if you'd had more, if things had been different." The river moved beside us. The sky was getting darker, the city lights beginning. Yes, I said carefully, there are things I would have said. To anyone
So,
specific,
in light
he
of the
said.
recent data, how
I
do we
looked at
mitigate
him,
these
he was
emerging
looking at the
risks?
river. His jaw was set in the way of someone
Hey, long
asking
time no
something that
see.
matters.
Wow, good to see you.
Maybe,
How
I
have you been?
said.
Great,
He
thanks. These
nodded
pastries look
slowly
good.
like something
This morning's keynote
confirmed
was
rather than
fantastic. The
something
speaker's
new.
vision for AI is
Yeah,
spot
he
on.
said quietly.
Absolutely. I've been
Me
following their
too.
work for months. We should
We
connect.
walked back to
So,
the
the keynote
hotel
was
in the early
insightful.
evening
Definitely. The
dark.
panel on
At
AI
the
was
door
great.
of the hotel,
Yeah,
he
I
held
actually
it
work in
open,
that
and we
space.
went
Oh,
in
really?
and up to the second
So, what
floor
do you
in the
think of this
small
approach?
elevator, and in
It's
the
solid.
corridor
This
outside
diagram
our
here really
rooms he
helps.
stopped.
Agreed. Let's apply it.
Dinner, he said. Yes, I said. We did not go to the conference dinner. We went to a small Italian place 3 blocks from the hotel that he had found on his phone, and we sat at a corner table and ordered wine,
Nice
and the
day for a walk,
conversation
right?
became the
Yeah,
most honest
perfect.
it
The
had
river's
been.
calming. Totally.
He told me
Portland in
things,
October.
real things.
I'll
Not
get it.
performance, the actual architecture of his
Here
interior
you go.
life offered carefully
Thanks,
and
man.
with the specific vulnerability of someone who
So,
has
enough
decided
about
to
work.
trust
How are
someone
you
with
really
something
doing?
real.
I'm
He
good,
talked
man.
about who he
Just
had
need
been
to
in
get out of
high
the office.
school, the
I get
public
that.
version, and the private version.
The river's
He
flow is
talked about what it
constant,
had
yet
taken
ever
in the years
changing.
after to
Like our
understand himself
thoughts, always
fully.
moving forward.
He talked about the
It's not an
relationship
easy
that had
choice.
ended at 22, and he
But what if
said
it's
something
wrong?
that stopped me.
Then we
I
face
think
it
I was
together.
trying to understand
I
something
feel like we
about
don't talk like
myself
this
through
enough.
him, and
I
that's
know,
not
it's
fair
easier
to
to just keep
someone,
things light.
to be their person
But this
while
feels
you're
more
still
honest.
figuring out if you're allowed
I've
to
been
want
holding
that.
this in for so long,
I set down my wine glass.
but saying it now feels
No,
right.
I said. He looked at me,
So,
his
we're
eyes
still
were
on for
dark in
tomorrow?
the restaurant light
Yeah,
and very
definitely.
direct.
Wouldn't miss it.
Yeah, he said, answering a question I had not quite asked. How long have you known? I said. Since about junior year, he said. You.
Good evening,
I
gentlemen.
looked at him.
Welcome in.
Since junior year,
Evening.
I said.
It's freezing out.
The
Yeah, it feels
silence
great
that
in here.
followed was the most particular kind. The silence of two people who have just understood something about a shared history that changes the way it looks.
feels different
You sat 2 rows
more
ahead of me in
deliberate.
English, I said.
than last
He
night.
looked at me steadily. I
have
know,
to be
he
honest
said,
with
I
you.
knew where you sat.
I'm not sure
My
this is
chest
the
was
right
doing
thing.
something large and complex. You never said anything, I said. You never said anything, he said. I didn't know how, I said.
I know
Neither
this
did
is hard,
he
but
said, and then we
it's just
graduated
between
and
us, okay?
I thought that was that. I thought that was
Hey,
that too,
come on
he
in.
said.
Thanks,
He
man.
looked at me
Appreciate
for a
it.
long,
Yeah, no
careful
worries. We're not
moment,
managing anything
then
tonight.
softly, it doesn't have to be that. We walked back to the hotel slowly through the October dark, the city quiet around us.
This is
We did not
nice.
say very
Yeah,
much on
beats
the
the
walk.
lobby,
We did not
for
need
sure.
to.
So,
Something
plans
had
for
been
tomorrow?
said at the
Sleep
restaurant
in?
table.
So I'm on this
something
hike,
real
and the view
clear
is just
and
breathtaking, you
irreversible,
know?
and we were both
Then this deer
walking
just walks right
alongside it,
past me,
finding
like
our
I'm not even
relationship
there.
to it.
I know it's
In
been
the
tough, but you've
elevator, he
handled it
stood
so
beside
well.
me, and I was
You should
very
be really
aware
proud
of
of
the
yourself.
small space and the warmth of him and
Man,
the
feels
5
like we've been
years and
talking for
everything
hours.
that had just
Yeah,
been
but
said
in a good
over
way.
wine and
No need to be
pasta in
polite
a
anymore.
corner restaurant 3 blocks away.
I'm right here with you.
We stopped in the
We'll get
corridor,
through
the
this
same
together.
corridor, room
I promise.
213, room 214. Ethan, he said. Yeah, I said. Can I say something that might be too honest, he said. Please, I said. He looked at me directly the way he had always looked at people, that specific quality of full attention. I have thought about you, he said. Not just once when I was in the forest, more than that. In the way that doesn't make sense after high school, in the way that you think this person was there before I knew who I was, and I've always wondered what it would have been like if I'd known
I found
sooner,
the
if either
letters.
of us had.
The truth
He
is, he
paused.
always loved
I don't
you.
know what this week is. I don't know what one conference in Portland means, but I know that seeing you in this hallway yesterday was the least prepared I have been for anything in a very long time. I looked at him, the corridor was empty, the hotel was quiet, we were standing close. You knew where I sat, I said. Every class, he said. I took a breath. I used to write your name in the margin of my English notebook, I said, and then scribble it out every time. Something moved across his face, something warm and private and a little overwhelmed.
Hey, good morning.
Ethan,
Thought you
he
could use
said.
this. Oh, wow.
I know, I
Thanks,
said.
man. You're a
I know
lifesaver.
we're in a
No problem at
hotel
all.
corridor and we met again yesterday and none of this is. I don't care, he said. I mean, he stopped. He started again. I care about doing this right. I don't care about the circumstances. We looked at each other. The wall between rooms 213 and 214 felt suddenly both very real
This place is
and
popping.
very
Let's grab
beside
some.
the point.
Definitely. Been craving El
Come in, I
Jefe's.
said.
One carne
Have a
asada for
drink
me?
from
You
the
got it.
minibar.
And for
We
you?
can
Same.
talk.
Man, this
He
market is
smiled, that
amazing.
full,
So much
real,
good food.
unguarded smile.
I know, right? And this
Okay,
wrap
he
is
said.
incredible. Told you.
We sat on opposite ends of the small hotel sofa with terrible minibar wine that we both agreed was terrible, and we talked for 2 hours. Not about anything in particular. About everything that had accumulated in 5 years of living different lives. About his family and mine. About the cities we had chosen and what those choices said about us. About the work we were both doing and why it mattered to us in a way we found hard to explain to people who had not arrived there the same way. He sat with one leg crossed, his wine glass in his hand, his hair doing the thing where it was slightly in his eyes, and he talked with his whole face the way he always had. And I
So
sat
this is
across from
Saturday
him and
night?
thought about
Yep,
17
beats
and
that
all
tiny
the
table,
English class
for sure.
mornings I had
Fries?
spent looking at the back of that head and wanting something I could not name. At some point, the minibar wine was finished, and neither of us moved to get more.
Are you
Can I ask you something?
sure
I
about
said.
this?
Anything, he said. Why did you come and find me at the conference
do.
dinner? I said. You could have gone to the bar with your table. You came and found me. He was quiet for just a second. Because I saw you across the room, he said, and there was this thing in my chest like a key in a lock, and I thought I am not going to spend another 5 years wondering. He looked at me steadily, so I came over. A key in a lock. That's
This
exactly
coffee is
what it
amazing.
felt like, I said
Yeah,
quietly,
and these eggs are perfect.
seeing you in
Best
the corridor.
breakfast spot in Portland.
He looked at me. We were closer than when we had sat down. Not dramatically, just the natural drift of a long, warm
Hey,
conversation.
check this out. I booked our
He
flights.
reached over and
Oh,
put
yeah?
his hand on
JFK to
mine
London,
where it
October
rested
15th.
on the
It's
sofa
confirmed.
cushion. Just rested his hand there, warm and real and certain. I turned my hand over. He laced his fingers
I've been thinking
through
about
mine.
that idea.
We sat
Yeah?
like that
I
for
think
a
it's
moment,
brilliant,
looking at
right?
each
This
other
could
with
actually
all
work.
5 years between us and also somehow none of them.
Hey,
Hi, he
that's
said
mine.
softly.
I know.
Hi, I said. He leaned forward slowly, giving me every moment to move or speak or change anything. I did not move.
Checking
I did
out
not
for room
change
312.
anything.
Certainly, here is your
Kissed me,
receipt.
soft and
Ready to go?
warm and
Yeah,
careful,
let's
the
head out.
kind of kiss that is more
Well, this
about
is it.
recognition
Take
than
care, man.
anything else.
Yeah, you too.
The kind
Safe
that
travels.
says,
We'll
"Here
catch
you
up soon,
are. I've
for
been
sure."
wondering where you were." When we pulled apart, his forehead rested against mine for a moment, both of us breathing a little
It's
carefully.
good to see you, man.
17-year-old me, he
It's been a
said
while.
quietly, would
Yeah, too
absolutely
long.
not believe this. I laughed, a real laugh surprised out of me. 17-year-old me is losing his mind right now, I said. He pulled back and looked at me with that warm, open, completely unhidden expression. Good, he said. Saturday morning I woke up to his alarm through the wall again, but this time when I heard it, I smiled before I was fully awake. He knocked on the connecting wall at 7, 2 knocks brief, just letting me know he was up, and that small, silly, simple thing sent something warm all the way through me from the top of my head to the floor. We met in the corridor.
Hi,
He was
checking
holding
in.
2
Here's my
coffees
ID
from
and
the
card.
machine down the
Welcome.
hall, having
Here's
thought
your
to
key
get
card.
both without
Thank
being
you.
asked. He handed me one and said good morning, and the way he looked at me in the morning light of that hotel corridor, like I was a good thing to see first thing, was something I was not sure I was going to be able to manage without telling him what it did to me. The conference sessions were different on Saturday. I could concentrate less, which was both a problem and completely worth it. He sat with me this time, moved his chair over, pulled it close, and occasionally leaned over during sessions to write something in the margin of my notebook, a comment about the speaker or a question or once just, "This person has never been in an actual forest in their life." I had to press my mouth together to not laugh out loud. During the lunch break, we walked to a nearby market and ate at one of the food stalls and talked about everything that was not the conference. He was easy in the daylight, relaxed and real, and exactly what he had been the night before, which was the important thing. The morning had not made him different. He was not performing anything. He was just him. "Tell me something," he said, eating a taco with the focused attention he gave to food he was enjoying. "What kind of something?" I said. "Something true, something you wouldn't normally say." I thought about it. I've been carrying the high school
So,
thing for
I was
a long
thinking about our
time,
next
I said.
steps.
Not
Yes,
in a painful
I'm all
way,
ears.
more
We should
like
definitely
an
expand the
unsatisfied
outreach.
question, something I never got the answer to. I looked at him. I think I spent 5 years wondering whether the feeling was real or whether I'd made it into something bigger than it was. And he said, "It was real," I said. "If anything, I'd made it smaller to manage it." He held my gaze. "Same," he said simply. We ate in comfortable silence for a while. "What do we do?" I said. "You're in Seattle, I'm in Chicago.
Glad I could
Those
join
are
you.
cities with
Me
airports,"
too.
he
This
said.
is nice.
"They
It's
are,"
good to
I
catch
said.
up. Definitely.
"It doesn't have to be figured
It's
out
crazy
right
how we
now,"
just
he
clicked
said.
right
"It
from the
just has
start.
to be honest,
I know, it
and
feels like we've known
managed
each other for
honest pretty
years.
well so far.
Great dinner.
We
Time
have,"
for a
I
drink?
agreed.
Definitely.
He
I
reached
could use one.
over and
This
stole
way to the bar.
something from my plate with complete lack
So,
of apology.
what did you think of the
I did
keynote?
not say anything.
It was insightful.
Because he had done
The
the
panel on
same
AI
thing
was
all
my
through
favorite.
high school with
So
whatever
then she just
snacks were available,
walked right out.
and it had been one
No
of the
way,
things
what did you
about
do?
him that I had
Another
found
round, fellas?
helplessly
Yeah,
endearing
please.
and apparently still did. "You stole food from my plate," I said. "I did," he confirmed. "You used to
I
do
hope
that
the
in high
elevator's
school."
quick tonight.
He looked at
Yeah,
me
me too.
surprised
I'm
and
beat.
pleased. You
Same
remember
here.
that.
Long day.
I remember everything, I said, and then more quietly, that was the problem. He looked at me for a long moment.
Room
Then he leaned
213
over and put his
and
shoulder against
214.
mine,
Seriously?
just pressed
What
it
are the
there,
odds,
warm
right?
and solid and completely
These door
natural.
numbers are so
And we
cool.
sat like that for the rest of lunch watching people move through the market and the city doing its Saturday afternoon thing around us. We skipped the Saturday conference dinner entirely. We got room service, his idea, delivered to room 213 because the chairs in my room were better, and ate on the floor because the table was too small and the floor seemed like the right choice somehow. And we watched something on his laptop that neither of us was paying full attention to.
As you can see on the screen,
At
our
some
projections
point
show
during the
steady
evening,
growth.
he looked
Our
over
goal
at
is to
me and
accommodate
said,
this while
"Are you
reducing
happy
emissions
right
by
now?"
30%.
I thought about it honestly. I looked at the room, terrible hotel art on the wall, the remains of room service between us, his jacket on the floor where he had dropped it, his slightly too long hair falling into his eyes. "Extraordinarily," I said. He smiled, not the wide conference smile, not the
So,
warm
in
to
light of the
everyone
recent
smile,
data,
the
how do we
small,
mitigate
private
these
one,
emerging
the one that was
risks?
mine. He moved over and sat beside me
Hey, long time
properly,
no
shoulder
see.
to shoulder.
Wow, good
And
to
I
see
leaned my
you.
head
How have you
against
been?
his, and we
Great,
sat
thanks.
like
These
that while the
pastries look
movie on
good.
his laptop
This morning's
was
keynote was
completely
fantastic.
unwatched.
The speaker's
And the
vision
city
for AI
outside
is
the
spot
window
on.
did its
Absolutely.
Saturday
I've been
night
following
thing.
their work for
And the
months. We
wall
should
between
connect.
rooms
So, the keynote was
213 and
insightful.
214
Definitely. The panel
felt
on
like the
AI was
most
great.
irrelevant
Yeah,
piece of
I actually work in that
architecture in the
space.
entire
Oh, really?
building.
So,
He
what do you
lifted
think
his
of this
hand and
approach?
ran it through
It's
my
solid.
hair
This
just
diagram
once,
here really
just
helps.
gently, like he
Agreed.
had been
Let's
thinking
apply it.
about doing it and finally decided to. I closed my eyes. 5 years, I said. I know, he said. We were so stupid, I said. We were 17, he said. Cut us some slack.
Nice day
Fair,
for
I
a walk,
said.
right? Yeah,
Ethan, he
perfect.
said.
The river's calming.
Yeah.
Totally. Portland in
I'm glad
October.
you didn't get the ice.
I'll get it.
I pulled back slightly to look at him.
Here you
What?
go.
The
Thanks,
first
man.
night, you came out to get ice. That's how
So,
you
enough
saw
about
me.
work.
If
How are
you'd
you really
gotten
doing?
the ice, you'd have
I'm
had
good,
your
man.
head down.
Just
You'd
need to
have
get out of
gone
the
straight
office.
back to
I
your
get that.
room. You might not have looked up.
The river's flow is
I
constant,
thought
yet
about
ever
it. I
changing.
didn't get the ice, I
Like
said.
our thoughts, always
You
moving
panicked
forward.
and went straight back to your
It's
room,
not an easy
he
choice.
said. And I saw you, not
But what
the
if it's
other way
wrong?
around. He
Then
looked
we
at me
face it
steadily.
together.
I saw you turn.
I feel like we don't talk like
recognized
this
you. I
enough.
stood there for
I
a
know.
minute not
It's easier
knowing
to just
what
keep
to
things
do,
light.
and then I decided
But this feels more
tomorrow at the
honest.
conference. I'll find
I've
him
been holding
tomorrow
this
at the
in for so
conference.
long,
I stared
but
at him
saying
and
it
you
now
saw
feels
me.
right.
I saw you, he said.
So, we're
You
still on
came
for
and
tomorrow?
found me at the dinner.
Yeah, definitely.
I
Wouldn't
came
miss
and
it.
found you at the dinner, he said, on purpose. I looked at him, this man who had been 2 rows ahead of me in English class, whose laugh I had known
Good evening,
before I
gentlemen.
knew his
Welcome
name,
in.
who had thought
Evening.
about me
It's
in a
freezing out.
forest in the
Yeah, it
Pacific
feels great in here.
Northwest, who had seen me panic in a hotel corridor and decided to come and find me anyway. Why didn't you say anything, I said,
This
when you saw
feels
me in the
different.
corridor?
More
Because you
deliberate
ran, he said, with a
than last
smile
night.
that was entirely too fond.
I have to be honest
and I
with you.
figured you needed a minute.
I'm not sure this is the
I
right
needed
thing.
more than a minute, I said. I know, he said. I gave you 14 hours. He looked at me. That's growth. I laughed. He laughed. And then we
I
were
know this
both
is hard,
laughing
but
in the genuine, helpless
just between
way,
us,
and it was
okay?
the best sound I had heard in a very long time.
Hey, come on in.
Sunday had the
Thanks, man.
particular
Appreciate
quality
it.
of
Yeah,
a
no
last
worries.
day,
We're not
the
managing
slight
anything
golden
tonight.
edge on things that comes when you know they are ending, not in a painful way, just in the way of something that has been worth keeping and
This is
now
nice.
changing shape.
Yeah, beats the lobby.
We went for
for
breakfast
sure.
at a place
So
we found,
plans for tomorrow?
small and bright,
Sleep
with
in.
excellent
So I'm on this
coffee and eggs
hike,
that were
and the
better than
view is
anything the
just
hotel had
breathtaking.
offered.
You know.
We
Then
sat
this deer
across
just
from each
walks
other
right
and made a
past me,
plan.
like I'm
Not
not
a
even
vague,
there.
hopeful plan, a
I know
real
it's
one
been
with
tough, but
actual
you've
dates
handled it
because he
so
had looked
well.
at flight prices the
You
night
should be
before
really
on his
proud of
phone and
yourself.
had sent me a screenshot that morning with
Man,
November
it feels
12th,
like we've been talking for
Seattle
hours.
to Chicago.
Yeah, but
That
in a
worked.
good way. No need
It
to be polite
worked.
anymore.
3 weeks, he said.
I'm right here with
3
you.
weeks, I agreed.
We'll get through this
I'll
together.
find good
I
places, he
promise.
said. I know Seattle, but I have no idea what Chicago's doing on a November weekend. You'll have to guide me. I will guide you excellently, I said. I trust you completely, he said, and the way he said it with such simple, genuine certainty made me look at him for a moment longer than the conversation required. No, I said. Yeah, I'm glad I booked this conference. He smiled over his
I
coffee.
found the letters.
I'm glad
truth
you
is,
booked
he
this
always loved
conference, he said. I'm glad you came out into the corridor when you did. I'm glad you exist, Ethan Cole, and that your last name starts with C. What has my last name got to do with anything? I said. Because your first name and my first name both start with letters that don't get you anywhere interesting alphabetically. but your last name put you in the English class I was in because of alphabetical seating, which put you 2 rows behind me, which gave me 2 years of being aware of someone sitting behind me who made the whole room feel different. He looked at me steadily. So yes, thank you for your last name starting with C. I could not say anything for a moment. I
Hey,
just
good
looked
morning.
at him.
Thought you could use this.
You knew, I
Oh,
said.
wow.
In high
Thanks,
school,
man.
you were
You're a
aware of
lifesaver.
me.
No problem at all.
Every class, he said. I told you that. You knew where I sat too, I said. Of course I did, he said. You're very hard to not notice. I looked at my eggs. I thought about 2 years of English class and all the looking I had done at the back of his head, all the careful, managed, contained feeling, all the margins with names scribbled and covered. I thought about
This place is
graduation
popping.
and
Let's
the
grab
5
some.
years after
Definitely.
and a
Been
corridor
craving
in a
El
Portland
Jefes.
hotel
One carne
and
asada
dinner
for me?
and a
You got it.
question
And for
about
you?
what would
Same.
have been said differently
Man, this
and a
market is
hand over
amazing.
mine
So
on a
much good
sofa
food.
cushion.
I know, right? And
We're
this
going to
wrap
be
is
okay,
incredible.
I said,
Told
not
you.
as a question. We're going to be great, he said, as if there were no other option. We checked out at noon. Our cars were in different directions. He was heading north. I was heading to the airport for a late afternoon flight. We stood outside the hotel on a gray October Sunday with our bags, the city quiet around us. The end of the weekend arrived. He looked at me, I looked at him. November 12th, he said. November 12th, I confirmed. He put his hand on the side of my face briefly, warmly, and then pulled
So
me
this
into
is
a
Saturday
proper
night?
hug, the kind
Yep.
that means
Beats
something,
that tiny
the
table.
kind where
For sure.
neither person
Fries?
rushes it. Thank you for not looking away, he said into my shoulder. Thank you for coming to find me, I said into his. We pulled apart,
Are
we
you
looked at each other
sure
one more
about this?
time in the gray October light. Drive safe, I said. Fly
Yes, I
safe,
do.
he said. He walked toward the parking garage. I watched him go. At the corner, he turned back and looked at me one more time, that full, direct, warm look, and then he was gone. I stood there for a moment. Then I picked up my bag and walked toward my car and took out my phone and opened our text thread and typed. The ice machine is on the 3rd floor, by
This
the way,
coffee is
in
amazing.
case you were still wondering.
Yeah, and these eggs are perfect.
3 seconds
Best breakfast
later,
spot
I
in
wasn't
Portland.
wondering. I was waiting for you to come back out. I smiled so wide that a passing stranger looked at me with an expression
Hey,
of
check this
mild
out.
concern.
I booked our flights.
I did not
Oh, yeah?
care at all.
JFK to London,
November
October 15th.
12th
It's
was a
confirmed.
Friday. He landed at O'Hare at 3 in the afternoon, and I was waiting outside Arrivals with coffee because I had remembered how he
I've been
took it from
thinking
a
about that
Saturday
idea.
morning in Portland.
Yeah? I
And
think
when
it's
he came through
brilliant.
the doors
Right?
and
This
saw
could
me
actually
standing
work.
there with 2 cups, he stopped and looked at me with an expression of
Hey,
complete,
that's
simple
mine.
happiness.
know.
You remembered, he said. I remember everything, I said. That's been established. He took the coffee, he looked at me over the
Checking
rim.
out for room
Hi,
312.
he said.
Certainly,
Hi,
here
I
is your
said.
receipt.
Ready
He
to go?
kissed me in the
Yeah,
middle
let's
of
head out.
O'Hare Arrivals on
Well,
a
this is
Friday
it.
afternoon
Take care, man.
without any
Yeah,
particular
you too.
concern
Safe travels.
for who was
We'll catch up
around,
soon, for
which
sure.
was extremely characteristic of him, and something I had already come to understand was simply part of who he was.
It's good to
We
see you,
spent the
man.
weekend doing exactly
You too.
what we had said.
It's been a while.
I guided him around
Yeah, too
Chicago,
long.
and he was an excellent tourist, interested in everything, making friends with every bartender and cafe owner and museum guard he encountered, laughing easily, making me laugh more than I usually laughed. He came back in December. I went to Seattle in January. By February, we had had the conversation, the real one, about cities and distance and what something ongoing actually looked like in practical terms. It was not a simple conversation. There were things to figure out. There always are with anything real. But we were both people who had spent enough years not saying true things, and we had both decided in a corridor and at
checking
a
in.
dinner
Here's
table
my ID
and on
and
a
card.
hotel room
Welcome.
floor
Here
that
is
we
your
were
key
done
card.
with that.
Thank you.
So we said the true things. We worked through the practical things. We made a plan that was not a vague, hopeful plan, but a real one. Some plans work out. This one did. And that is the end of this part of the story. But I want to ask you something before you go. Have you ever had someone from your past reappear at exactly the right moment or the wrong one and rearrange everything you thought you knew about yourself? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one. And if this story touched something in you, if you've ever loved someone in a margin and hoped they noticed, please like it. Please share it with someone who needs it today, and subscribe because there are more stories exactly like this one. Should I tell you part 2, the story of the first Christmas and what Noah said that neither of us expected?